Hello folks, this is Chris, KY4CKP for Lake Cumberland Amateur Radio Association. Today I want to introduce some software for the ham radio community. It's still in beta, but it's been receiving some nice development, and not everybody may be familiar with this, and I think we should really help spread the word on this one. It looks like it's going to be some really nice software. It's already nice software, and I think by the end of this year, probably first quarter of next year, it may come out of beta. It may hit 1.0. And this is produced by Jarrett Green, KB0ICT. And he had a couple of issues he wanted to solve for himself, and also that he knew that other people in the ham radio community were having some issues with. One is just logging of contacts, whether you're at home or portable or mobile. And then the other was, fairly specifically, parks on the air. Because when you submit your contacts for activating a park, doing parks on the air, it has to be in a pretty particular format, the ADIF format. And there wasn't really good software that seemed to help people do that quickly and easily. And being new himself, he's a newer ham, he wanted something that would let him log contacts on the front end and be able to submit them on the back end. But also with HAMRs, HAMRs, you can, say, take paper logs if you're in the field or doing POTA, and then you can put them in later and still submit them for POTA activations or whatever you're doing. And it's on most desktops, Mac OS and Windows. It's on most mobile platforms, the Fire tablets. It's on, of course, iOS and Android devices, phones and tablets. The desktop versions are free. The mobile device versions are, I think, $4.99. May depend on the Play Store or the App Store. So we just want to take a quick look at this, kind of show it off a little bit, help spread the word, because again, I think the development of this and the ease of use of it is a good thing for the community, and I'm excited to begin using it myself, and I want to help spread the word for this. So let's go ahead and take a look at it here. So here we're at the HAMRs website, HAMRS, and you can see the platforms it's available for, the phones and tablets, and then the desktop OS is Ubuntu and Raspbian. And also a 32-bit version for folks who may be running older systems. You can see the latest release, 11.4.11.4. It's beta software still, and I believe he's maybe something like alpha testing 11.5. But I saw in a recent stream he was doing that he feels like maybe they can hit 1.0. Probably not by the end of this year, maybe early next year, first quarter next year. February or March or something. So that's something I think we would all want to keep our eyes on if we're interested in the software. It's in pretty good shape right now. He just had a fairly decent release. The 11.4 was a pretty big release, and 11.5, when it becomes full beta, may be a decent release as well, I suspect. So we just want to take a look at this. Again, the desktop versions are free. The mobile device versions have a cost in the App Store because it's not free to have something in the App Store, so there's a small cost there. I believe it's $4.99. So I just want to take a look at this. So HAMRs, HAMRS, HAMRs.app is the website, HAMRS.app. So I just want to take a look at this. So let's bring in the application window, and we'll take a look at this for a little bit. So when you first bring up the software, and this is on Windows 10 currently, it says, wow, that's a lot of space because you've not used the software at all yet, and you don't have any logbooks or anything started. So let's go ahead and start a logbook so we have some things to look at, because it's a little bit plain right now. Let's go ahead and just open a logbook. You want to give it a title. Now, it depends on what you're doing with this logbook. Let's pretend we were going to be doing a POTA activation. So with POTA, the name of the file, the ADIF file that you send to your regional manager, needs to be in a particular format. So let's follow that. Let's put in our call sign, KY4CKP at whatever park you're doing. Let's just make one up. It's a real park, but we'll just put it in there. K-1234. Okay, and then you could do dash, and then, you know, that day's date. So let's just pretend it's 10/10/2021. Okay. Now you see there's templates right below the naming field for this new log file. So if you look under the templates, we got the arrows. He's got several templates in there now, and he's looking to make some more, but he's also looking in a future release to make it to where the end users can basically create their own templates pretty easily. But he's got some pretty major ones out there. He's got winter field day, regular summer field day, summits on the air, parks on the air, and then just a generic one. So if we're going to be doing parks on the air, we'll choose that one, and we choose save. So now you see we have this template type of entry form ready to go for us, and it's sort of laid out the way you would really want to do things if you're doing a parks on the air. So you can see it's got our name up there at the top left, and we've got a few fields and things we can look at. If we put in a call sign in the upper left, call sign field, I'm just going to use my brother's call sign, KY4BDP. He'll be our guinea pig for today. So when you put that up and give it just a slight delay, if you see in the upper right corner, it went out and took a looked up that call sign. We'll see how you can have it do that in 3 different major ways to do that. And it was said, oh, that is a legitimate call sign. That's Brian Perry down in Somerset, Kentucky. Okay. So it just lets you know within just half a second, maybe a second, who that was. And so if you're entering call signs, you're working a pilot, very quickly it would bring that back for you, and then you could go, oh yes, so this is Brian, and I've got you 59 at Park K1234, and it can help provide that name very quickly for you without having to have other software open or other windows open or your phone sitting right next to your tablet or however you're working, if you're in the field or not. So it brought that up for us. And then it pre-populates a few things for you, the date and some information about your contact, the grid square, if it can find that. That's something that's a little bit, can be just a little bit iffy from QRZ and these other sources. So there's only so much HAMRs can do about that. Usually you can get it right. And you can put in your information, hey, we're working 20 meters here at the park. You can put in your frequency, 250, whatever it is, 14. 250. You can put in your power, whatever you want to do. You can put in 100 watts. You can put in your park. We're just pretending. Let's just say we're at K-1235. 1235. Your grid square, if you had a club call sign, if you're doing especially a field day event or something like that, you might have a club call sign. And it's keeping track of the time for you. That's kind of one of the nice things about it. So it's keeping track of the time for you. And then, you put a comment, however many of the fields you want. I think for POTA, the band, the mode, and their call sign are the 3 minimal things you need for POTA. I don't think they even care about the actual frequency we're on, but, a lot of us are going to want to track that. So let's save the contact. Click the green save button. Notice down below we have a line item. HAMRS stores things in a database, a simple little local database, and it stored that call sign. And you can click the gear icon. You can edit the call sign if you needed to maybe make an adjustment on something. You can delete the call sign if it's ended up being a duplicate or something else. You can force a lookup. Let's say you're in the field doing POTA. You don't have any kind of internet access. There's no cell coverage, those kinds of things. You can put everything in. It just won't be able to auto look things up for you immediately. But when you get back to civilization, you get back to the world, then you could look things up and go out and look them up. And if you have 10 or 15 or 20, you can look them all up, and it'll bring that information right in there for it. Now let's check out one other feature. If you're entering call signs and you've been working a big pileup and you've been around, and I don't know about you folks, but when I'm hunting, which I like to do a fair amount of the time, I'm going up and down the band, and I may forget that I've hit somebody, especially when I'm mobile, because when I'm mobile, I'm not able to track things quite as easily. And you may hit somebody again, and that may not mean it. And even on field days and stuff, sometimes they're working up and down the bands or a contest, and you hit them again. So let's just say KY4 BDP comes along, give it just a half a second. Oh, now we have a red box. So it still looked up the contact just like it always does. So, hey, that's Brian. It goes, hey, that's Brian again. you contacted that person X number of minutes ago, and so it'll give you that. But let's just say you're busy, you didn't catch that or whatever. You click save. Well, down in the save, notice it's going to put a dupe next to that. It's going to remind you, if you didn't, cancel it right then, hey, this was a dupe. And then, of course, you could just go into that and you could delete one of those. So, again, you can have this on your phone, your tablet, or a laptop or a desktop. So that's some of the features. It'll bring stuff. The templates are nice. And then the fact that it will then store things out. So if you want to do an export, so let's say this is this is what we had. Let's see how we would have it look things up, right? So how's it doing that lookup to bring in that information on a contact? So we go under profile, manage profiles. So I got a profile set up. my call sign. Notice under integrations, it says QRZ.com. Well, if you first fire up the software, it wouldn't have anything there. That would be a blank field, because what you would need to do is configure something. And you've got 3 options, at least as of the current release. So hit the gear icon, little gear, right? Go to tools or edit. This is where you set up your name and your call sign, everything. Notice down here, integrations, right? QRZ, if you've got a paid subscription where you can use the XML data, put in your username and log in for QRZ. That's what I did. If you want to use HAMQTH, put in your name and password for HAMQTH. Or if you want to use HAMDB, HAMDB is a free resource that you can use. You can set up for HAMDB. So you got those 3 options in a little drop-down box down there. So that's how you can put in a field. So I just wanted to talk about those 3. I've got them open here as tabs. Let's just talk about those sources for just a moment. QRZ, most of us are familiar with QRZ. We have at least a free account there, maybe not a paid account. So, of course, you can, as we saw, bring in QRZ.com, especially if you have the paid account where you have access to the XML data, so it can do the lookups. If you would rather, you could use HAMQTH. You can create an account over there, and you could use HAMQTH. It's an alternative. Or you could use HAMDB. Right, so hamdb.org, hamdb.org. This is a free one that you could use for several countries and things. If you want to use HAMQTH, hamqth.com. Right, and you could have an ID and password for that one that you could create. And of course, QRZ, QRZ.com. You could use that one. So those are the sources you can use for the software. So let's go ahead and bring back the interface again. We're just going to talk about a few more features. So we've got our profile. We've got a couple of things. Let me just put myself in there. Somehow I magically went to 2 different locations, and I was able to contact myself. We'll just put it in as a guinea pig. Give it just half a second or so. It'll bring up your listing once you've put in one of those integrations, they call it. And, if everything looked good, I did the same contact. Maybe somebody was contacting Brian and I at a park, because sometimes we do parks on the air together. So as you start putting your contacts, of course, it's just going to fill in the line items below. And if it was able to do the lookup, you'll see the green check mark. If it hasn't done the lookup yet, I think it's blank if you don't have a lookup at all. So let's say you're done. Let's say you got your 10 if you're doing a Parks on the Air activation. We can go under Settings, the Expanded. You may not need all the fields. So if we turn off Expanded, notice it's on. If you can kind of see right behind there, below the time, the date over here on the left, notice there's operator, state, county, QTH, and grid. If you don't need all that stuff, depending on what you're doing, see how it disappeared? That's if you turn off the expanded. So whether you need to see that or are going to use those or not, turn that on or off. And then, of course, the automatic lookup of call signs and the notifications, like if it's a dupe and some of those things. And then, of course, your choice. You put in your choice under the integrations, under your profile, and then, you choose the one that you want to use for this activation or this session with the software. Under Help, just about the software. Let's take a look at that. We're on version 11.4. Again, I think it's sort of alpha testing 11.5 already, so it may come out sort of official beta anytime now. KB0ICT, and then he's had a number of folks helping him. You can see the list down there. Okay. So, and then also you can go to support and request. He has a web page and some forums in there where people can leave feedback and ask questions and things. And that's where he's getting a lot of the impetus to do a lot of the updates and patches and things. What do people want? What do they need? What do they see as a rough point? Because as a developer, that can be kind of difficult. You can make software that you feel like is perfect. You show it to even one other person, and they point out 10 things that they would have done differently. And you can't make it perfect for everyone, but when you get several people wishing for the same thing, then you can put that on your list and add things in. So let's sort of take a look. Let's look down here at the central bottom section of the screen. You notice we're on the entries where it shows the line items. Notice it has sort of a tab over here called Qsl Map. So if we click on that, notice that it shows you a map of your QSOs. Now, the mapping feature, and this gets into what data is available to pull in from QRZ or wherever you're gonna pull data from. Sometimes the pins, the locations can be off and things. All he does is bring in the information. He can't really fix it or anything. So sometimes your markers can be off. Like I'm not in, Arizona or wherever that is over there. But normally it works, and normally it shows you where you've been making contact. Especially, we have 2, but and they're close together. You can see it has my location as one of the contacts in my brother's location, it has this about right. Right, I'm in central Kentucky and he's in south central Kentucky, so it's got that part about right. And a lot of times we like to see this kind of stuff. How far am I getting out? What were those contacts? You know, how far east, west, north, and south were we getting that day? So it has the visual map. And then if you come over and we're doing the POTA template, right? We're doing POTA. Come over to POTA spots. This is pulling information from the POTA website. So you can go to the POTA website and it's got a page for POTA spots. But this pulls that information, that same information in, puts it right here. And just like the website, it'll update once every 60 seconds. So you can see right here what's going on, and you can filter this. So right now, you could say all modes, all bands, you know, show me everything, or if I want to see it in tabular form. I kind of like the little boxes. It shows a little more information to me, a little bit easier to see. But I'm only going to be doing 20 meters SSB today, so I want to see maybe other people that are on that, because maybe I'm going to try to do some park-to-parks or whatever. So you can say, well, I'm going to be on SSB, and then I'm going to be on 20 meters. So now it'll show you who's been spotted, you know, on that mode and on that frequency, or on that band anyway. So it's got this part in there, so you can, you know, because a lot of times, you know, as we're doing things, we may be sort of hunting as much as working a pileup, because sometimes when you activate a park or something, it's a little bit slower, and you have a little bit of time. And if you can make a park-to-park, those score extra, by the way, if you're doing parks on the air. You'd like to do that. You know, some folks, I've never done this, at least not yet. Some folks have done entire activations of a park by doing nothing but park-to-park to other parks. And so they just make 10 or more park-to-park, you know, contacts, and then that counts as an activation. They didn't even have to do a regular call. They could just have been hunting other parks when you're in more population-dense areas. You know, I'm sure that can work really well. So it's a pretty cool feature. And, you know, there are things that I think any of us would like to see in software like this. He's already got, you know, I'm sure a pretty long to-do list and wish list. Again, he's already working on 11.5 and heading towards 1.0. I know he mentioned recently, hopefully sooner, you know, obviously rather than later. I'm thinking maybe not by the end of the year. With the holidays and stuff, things tend to get a little bit backed up, but probably first quarter next year. I mean, it's pretty nice and generally pretty usable right now. So I just wanted to show this to folks, make sure people knew it was out there on the different platforms, phones and tablets and desktops, and that it's a pretty nice tool for entering QSOs. But then also, I know for a lot of us, making it nice and easy to submit your QSOs, particularly I know for parks on the air. I know when I first did a park on the air, I don't know how long it's been. I have to look it up, a year and a half ago, maybe even closer to 2 years ago. It was fun doing the activations. If you've never done a parks on the air, watch a couple of videos, look into it. It can be a lot of fun, because if you can kind of get things going a little bit and get spotted or spot yourself, it's just fun. You have a lot of action going on, a lot of activity. So the activation part's a lot of fun. But I know a year and a half, 2 years ago, there wasn't a good way, an easy way, depending on what you use to take the QSOs, to create that proper ADIF file, to submit it to your regional manager for POTA. And I think I ended up doing it sort of kind of by hand in an Excel spreadsheet, and had to tweak a whole bunch of fields and things, had to look up the ADIF standard. To be honest, it was a lot of work. Doing the activation was fun. Getting it submitted, you know, was a little bit more work than fun. But now you've got this really nice tool, and you just put everything in here, saves it in a database, and keep all your contacts. Then you can export. I guess we didn't show the export, so let me see here. Let's see what's under. Nope, it's under profile. I think go under profile, or go under that. Let me see. Where was it earlier? Logbooks. So you just go to logbooks at the top. You could have 4 or 5 or 10 of these in here. So here you can see the logbook, and I went ahead and gave it the sort of official POTA structure for the name. You can see the template I used was Parks on the Air. Of course, the date, how many QSOs. Hopefully you would have at least 10. You have to have at least 10 if you're really going to do a Parks on the Air. And then again, we have a gearbox, or the sort of edit icon. So then you go down to export, you know, .adi. ADIF is the formatting that the file has to be in, and they call it ADI file. Edit, duplicate, okay, delete, you know, if it's something where you don't need anymore, you've already copied it to other storage locations and things like that. But you do the export to ADI, it just brings up a save file dialog, and you can store it wherever it makes sense, and then you just attach it to an email and send it to your regional manager for Parks on the Air. So it's as easy as that. easy that, and it'll be in the right format. That's what's really nice about this. So making it really quick and easy to enjoy your POTAs and not have any struggle on the back end, simply trying to put a file together. So that's pretty much it, folks. We'll go ahead and wrap this one up. We don't have to spend a whole lot of time on this. Again, this is in active development. It's gaining features quite often. Gained quite a bit when it went from 11.3 to 11.4. I suspect .5 is going to have a number of good things in there as well. And certainly by the time it hits 1.0, probably first quarter next year, it should be in pretty nice shape, I think. So check it out. HAMRS, HAMRS, HAMRS.app is the website. Jarrett Green, KB0ICT. Thanks for the software. And we'll wrap this one up. This is Chris, KY4CKP for Lake Cumberland Amateur Radio Association 73.